Do you ever sit down to do something simple, something you know you should do, and yet you just can't? Not because you don't want to, but because something inside you feels heavy, like your mind is tired, your chest feels tight, and even the smallest task feels like climbing a mountain you don't have the strength for. And then the thoughts begin, why am I like this? Why can't I just focus? Everyone else is moving forward. What's wrong with me? So you call yourself lazy. You tell yourself you lack discipline. You promise tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow comes and it feels exactly the same. And slowly, without even realizing it, you start believing that maybe you're the problem. Welcome to the Silent Growth Talks, a space where we slow down, reflect, and grow. Quietly, but powerfully. If this feels like something you've been carrying, maybe stay with me for a while. And if you feel this space helps you breathe a little easier, you can gently subscribe so you don't have to go through this alone again. There was a time when everything looked fine. From the outside, you were doing what you were supposed to do. You showed up, you tried, you kept going. But inside, something felt off. Not broken, just tired. And not the kind of tired sleep can fix. It was a deeper kind of exhaustion. The kind that builds slowly, silently, over weeks, months, sometimes years. You wake up already feeling behind. You check your phone, and within seconds you're reminded of everything you haven't done yet. People your age achieving things, moving ahead, building lives that look complete. And you sit there staring at your own life, wondering why yours feels so stuck. You tell yourself, I just need to be more disciplined. So you make a plan, wake up early, exercise, work hard, no distractions. You feel motivated for a moment, but then the day actually begins and your mind starts wandering. You try to focus, but your thoughts keep interrupting. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What's the point anyway? And suddenly, even starting feels overwhelming. So you delay, just a little. I'll start in 10 minutes. But those 10 minutes turn into hours, and by the end of the day, you feel guilty, ashamed, disappointed in yourself. And the cycle repeats. But here's something no one really tells you. What if you're not lazy? What if the reason you can't move forward isn't because you lack discipline, but because you're emotionally exhausted? Think about it. How many thoughts do you carry every single day? Not just tasks, but worries, regrets, comparisons, unspoken fears, the pressure to be better, the pressure to figure everything out quickly. Your mind doesn't rest. Even when you're doing nothing, you're thinking, analyzing, replaying conversations, imagining worst-case scenarios, questioning yourself again and again. And all of that takes energy, a lot of it. But because it's not visible, you ignore it. You push through. You tell yourself to just try harder. Until one day, your mind simply says, I can't. There was someone just like this. Let's call him Andrew. He wasn't lazy. In fact, he cared a lot, maybe too much. He wanted to do well. He wanted to prove himself. He wanted to feel enough. But his days felt heavy, not because he had too much work, but because every task came with 1,000 thoughts. If he sat down to study, he wouldn't just study. He would think about whether he was doing it right, whether it was too late to catch up, whether others were already ahead. If he made a small mistake, it wouldn't stay small. His mind would replay it, stretch it, turn it into proof that he wasn't good enough. So he avoided things, not because he didn't care, but because caring felt exhausting. People around him didn't understand. They said things like, you're just not consistent. You're wasting your potential. And slowly, he started believing them. But deep down, There was a quiet question he couldn't ignore. If I'm lazy, why does this hurt so much? Because laziness doesn't hurt. Laziness feels comfortable. But this? This felt like guilt, like pressure, like constantly fighting your own mind and losing. One evening, after another day of doing almost nothing, Andrew sat alone, staring at his screen, the same unfinished tasks, the same empty feeling. And for once, he didn't blame himself. He just sat there and asked, "Why am I really like this?" Not in anger, not in frustration, but in curiosity. And that's when something shifted. Very slightly, very quietly, he started noticing things. Not fixing them, just noticing. He noticed how his thoughts never really stopped. He noticed how hard he was on himself, even for small things. He noticed that he wasn't resting. Not really. Because even when his body was still, his mind was still running. And for the first time, he considered something he had never allowed himself to think before. What if I'm not failing? What if I'm overwhelmed? But it softened something inside him. The next day, he didn't try to fix his whole life. He didn't create a strict routine. He just did one small thing. He sat with his thoughts without judging them. And it was uncomfortable, messy, loud, but also honest. Days passed. Slowly, he started doing things differently. Not perfectly, just differently. Instead of forcing himself to work for hours, he gave himself permission to start small. Really small. Instead of saying, "I need to finish everything today," he said, "I'll just begin." And some days, that was enough. He also started questioning his thoughts, not believing everything immediately. When his mind said, "You're behind," he asked, "Compared to who?" When his mind said, "You're not good enough," he asked, "Is that a fact or just a fear?" And slowly, very slowly, the noise inside his head started losing its power. It didn't disappear, but it softened. And with that, something unexpected happened. He started feeling a little lighter. Not because life became easier, but because he stopped carrying everything all at once. He realized something important, something simple, but deeply true. Discipline is hard when your mind is overwhelmed. Focus is hard when your thoughts are constantly pulling you in different directions. And moving forward is hard when you're mentally exhausted from fighting yourself. So maybe you don't need more pressure. Maybe you don't need to push harder. Maybe you need to pause, to acknowledge that what you're feeling is real, that your exhaustion isn't laziness, that your struggle makes sense. Because once you stop fighting yourself, you create space. And in that space, change begins. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but quietly. The kind of change that doesn't look impressive from the outside, but feels real on the inside. You start showing up a little more, thinking a little less harshly, trying without the weight of constant judgment. And over time, those small shifts become something bigger. Not because you forced them, but because you allowed them. So if you've been calling yourself lazy, maybe pause for a moment and ask yourself, what am I really feeling? Not what you should feel, not what others expect, but what's actually there. Is it fear, pressure, overthinking, emotional fatigue? Because once you see it clearly, you stop mislabeling it, and that changes everything. You don't need to fix your entire life overnight. You don't need to become a completely different person. You just need to understand yourself a little better, to be a little kinder to your own mind, and to remember growth doesn't always look like action. Sometimes it looks like rest, like awareness, like choosing not to believe every negative thought, and that counts more than you think. So tonight, or whenever you're listening to this, you don't have to prove anything. You don't have to rush. Just sit with yourself, breathe, and remind yourself, I'm not lazy. I'm learning how to take care of a tired mind. And that is a powerful place to begin. This is the Silent Growth Talks. If this resonated with you, you can gently like, share, or subscribe so this space can reach someone else who might need it. Take your time, and we'll grow quietly together.